Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we take you to a specific time in history, or maybe we dissect a complex political event or a scientific breakthrough.
Right, a specific event or a person.
Exactly. Today, we are taking you to a place. And I don't just mean a location you can point to on a map. I mean an entire sensory experience.
We are heading north. And when I say north, I don't mean put on a light jacket because it's a bit breezy north.
No, not at all.
I'm talking about Sápmi, northern Sweden, above the Arctic Circle. A place where the snow isn't just weather, it is the landscape, it is the silence, and frankly, it's the main character of the story we're discussing.
It really is. We are unpacking The Secret of Snow by Tina Harnesk. Now, I've got to be honest with you and with you listening. When I first picked this up, based on the cover and the title, I thought it was going to be a cozy mystery.
Oh, for sure. I had the same thought.
You know the type. Snow, a small town, maybe a murder, a detective drinking hot cocoa. But it's not that at all, is it?
Not even close. It is so deceptive. It lures you in with this quirky, almost slapstick humor, which we will definitely get to. And then it just hits you with intergenerational trauma, displacement, and probably the most heartbreaking family dynamics I've read in years.
It's true.
It's a book that laughs with you one minute and then absolutely gets you the next.
It's emotional whiplash in
Yeah.
the best possible way. So our mission today is to decode the silence in this book. We have this stack of sources, the novel itself, some historical context on the Sámi relocations, which is crucial,
Absolutely crucial. You can't understand the characters without it.
and some notes on the folklore that just it permeates the entire story. We need to figure out how two completely different lives, an 85-year-old Sámi woman hiding a cancer diagnosis and a neurotic urban doctor having a midlife crisis, are actually telling the same story.
It's a story about roots, about belonging. And fittingly, to understand where we're going, we had to start at the very beginning, the prologue, which, interestingly, isn't about the main characters at all.
No, it's not.
It's a story within a story.
Right. Let's set the scene for you, because this prologue really establishes the atmosphere for everything that follows.
Imagine a kitchen. It's midwinter in the north, which means it is pitch black outside.
Yeah.
Just unending darkness. The cold is pressing against the windows.
You can feel it.
Yeah, you can. And you have Biera, an old Sámi herdsman, and a little boy. The boy wants a story. He's begging for one. So Biera tells him the traditional legend of the reindeer herder who meets a haldi.
Okay, pause there. Because for anyone who hasn't brushed up on their Scandinavian folklore lately, what exactly is a haldi? Because I feel like I've heard the term, but I don't really know what it means.
It's a good question, and it's key. A haldi is essentially an underground spirit. They look like humans, honestly,
Yeah.
but they are creatures of the earth.
So like elves or something.
Sort of, but not quite so twee. They live just beneath the surface of the ground. In Sámi tradition, the barrier between our world and their world is very thin. You could be walking on the tundra, and right beneath your boots, a haldi family is living their life. They are powerful, they are respected, and they're usually invisible to us.
So in Biera's story, a human reindeer herder meets a haldi woman. They fall in love. It's this romance across the barrier of worlds. She agrees to marry him, but she has one non-negotiable rule.
The classic one rule of folklore. It's almost a trope, but it's there for a reason. She says, I will be your wife, I will bear your children, I will make your herd prosper like you wouldn't believe. But you can never, ever tell a living soul what I am.
She wants to pass as human. She wants her origin kept a total secret. And for a while, it works, right? They have a good life.
A great life. Years go by, they get rich, the herd is massive, they have everything they could want, but then human nature kicks in.
It always does.
It always does. The husband gets drunk one night, or maybe he gets angry during an argument, or maybe he just gets careless and boastful with his friends. The reason is almost unimportant, and he whispers it.
He lets it slip.
He calls her his haldi. He breaks the vow of silence.
And the consequence is immediate. She doesn't argue, she doesn't scream, she doesn't cry.
Oh, drama.
None. She just leaves, she takes the kids, she takes the reindeer, all of them, and she just walks into the sunrise. Gone.
And the boy in the kitchen, the one listening to this story, he's devastated by this ending. It's so abrupt. He asks Biera, why? If she loved him, why couldn't she just forgive him and stay?
And Biera's answer. This is the line that I think we need to hang on to for this whole deep dive. It's the key to the lock.
He looks at the boy and says, no matter who we become or where we end up, our hearts have a root.
Our hearts have a root. That is such a powerful image. It implies that you You can't escape where you come from. You can build a house, you can have a family, you can pretend to be human when you're actually a spirit, but the root is still there.
Exactly. And if you deny the root, or if someone else tries to sever it for you, everything falls apart. That is the thesis statement for this entire story. We are going to see characters trying to hide their roots, characters looking for their roots, and characters realizing their roots are tangled up with people they didn't even know existed.
So keeping that idea of the root in mind, let's jump into part 1. The weight of silence. We need to talk about the woman who drives this whole story forward, Máriddja.
Máriddja, what a character. She's 85 years old. She is Sámi. She lives in a dilapidated house in Sarvasorve, and she is absolutely furious.
She is not your typical sweet grandmother figure. The book opens with her sitting in a hospital office. She's just been given a green light. But it's not the kind of green light you want.
No. The chapter is titled Green Light for Job Mamaka.
Okay, there's another term we need to unpack. Who or what is Job Mamaka?
In Sámi mythology, Job Mamaka is the goddess of the dead. She rules the underworld. Jamiyamo. She's the one who receives you when your time is up. So receiving a green light for her means one thing explicitly. The end is coming. Máriddja has been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
It's a heavy, terrifying moment. Most stories would focus on the tears, the shock, the fear.
Yeah.
But this is where Tina Harnesk's writing style does something brilliant. Instead of crying or panicking, what is Máriddja doing?
She is critiquing the doctor's eyebrows.
She is obsessed with them.
Utterly obsessed. It's Dr. Scruvlinius. Poor guy.
She describes them as seasick. I wrote down the quote because I couldn't believe it. She thinks they look like hungover anchovies.
Hungover anchovies.
She's staring at this doctor who is telling her she's going to die, and her internal monologue is just, why are those eyebrows moving like lizards across his forehead? She's wondering if his red hair turned green because of salt water.
It's hilarious, right? You find yourself laughing at her inner thoughts. But if we put our psychology hats on for a second, it's also a classic trauma response.
It has to be.
It's dissociation. The reality of you are dying is too big, too sharp to swallow. So her brain grabs onto the smallest, weirdest detail in the room, the eyebrows, and fixates on it to avoid the truth.
It's a shield. She's pushing the reality away with judgment. And when the doctor tries to be human, when he tries to offer comfort or counseling or anything like that, she slaps it away.
She does. She basically tells him, I don't need your pity, I don't need your help. My husband, Biera, he'll take care of me. She shuts down the professional support system immediately.
But that's the lie, isn't it? Because the minute she leaves that office, she makes a decision that drives the entire plot. She decides Biera can never know.
That is the central conflict for her. She walks out of that hospital into the cold, takes her mobile phone, which she knows the doctor will try to call for follow-ups, and throws it into a public trash can.
She just gets rid of it.
Gone. And she takes the appointment letter with the diagnosis written on it and burns it in the wood stove as soon as she gets home. She decides to erase the diagnosis from existence as far as her home life is concerned.
Why, though? I mean, I get not wanting to worry someone, but this is her husband of decades. They live in the middle of nowhere. They're each other's entire world. Why complete silence?
To understand that, you have to understand the child-sized gap in their living room.
The missing piece.
Right. We learn very quickly that Biera and Máriddja aren't just an eccentric old couple. They are survivors of a specific devastating loss. They raised a boy, Biera's nephew, and he was taken from them years ago. That loss, it broke Biera.
He never recovered.
Not really. He's fragile, he's gentle, he's this quiet soul. Máriddja looks at him, this man who talks to the wind, who is so deeply connected to the land, and she thinks, if I tell him I'm dying, it will kill him first. He cannot survive another loss.
So it's an act of love.
It's an act of sacrificial love. She is willing to carry the terror of death alone, in silence, just so he can have a few more months of peace. She's protecting his heart at the expense of her own comfort.
That is heartbreakingly noble, but also just incredibly isolating.
Terribly isolating.
And speaking of Biera, we need to spend some time on him. Because while Máriddja is burning letters and having this internal chaotic crisis, Biera is dealing with his own crisis. But it seems so small in comparison. He's lost his knife.
It sounds trivial on the surface, doesn't it? Old man loses pocket knife. If I lost my car keys, I'd be annoyed, but I wouldn't have an existential crisis.
Right, you just retrace your steps.
But in this context, the knife is everything.
Describe this knife for us, because it's not a Swiss Army knife we're talking about.
No, absolutely not. This is a traditional Sámi knife. We're talking about a birch handle, likely carved by hand, a reindeer horn sheath, high carbon steel blade. Biera made it himself. It's shaped to his hand. It represents his agency. It's his ability to interact with the world, to cut wood, to slaughter reindeer, to eat, to craft.
Without it, he feels
Why,
helpless.
he feels naked. He
Yeah.
feels stripped of his manhood and his competence. But the reason he thinks it's gone is what's fascinating. He doesn't think he just dropped it in the snow.
No.
He blames the Vitterfolk.
The underground dwellers again? The Haldi.
Exactly. He's convinced they stole it. And this tells us something important about Biera. He lives in a world where the spiritual and the physical are constantly bumping into each other. But there's a deeper anxiety here. Biera is a man who has been displaced before.
This is the historical context we really need to get into. The book mentions his family came from Karesuando.
Yes. And this refers to a real dark chapter in Swedish history. The forced relocations of the early 20th century.
Can you break that down for us? What exactly happened?
So in the early 1900s, specifically around the 1920s, the governments of Norway and Sweden changed the rules about reindeer grazing lands and closed borders.
Okay.
The Swedish government decided, essentially, that there were too many reindeer in the northernmost parts. So they forced northern Sámi families, like Biera's family, to move hundreds of miles south.
They were packed up and shipped out against their will.
Forced to leave their ancestral lands, their grazing routes, their sacred sites. It was a brutal act of social engineering. And here is the kicker. When they arrived in the south, the Sámi groups, who already lived there, viewed them as intruders.
So they weren't even welcomed by their own people.
Not at all. They spoke different dialects. They had different herding styles. It caused massive internal conflict within the Sámi community. It was a strategy of division by the state.
So Biera is an outsider in his own community.
Exactly. He carries that scar. He's always been the northern boy who doesn't quite fit in the south. So when his knife goes missing, the symbol of his ability to survive and provide, it triggers all that old trauma. He feels like the world is taking things from him again. First his home, then the boy, now his knife.
That puts his distress in a completely different light. It's not about a lost object. It's about lost control.
Precisely. It's the symbol of his identity being stripped away.
Meanwhile, back at the house, we have some comic relief to balance out all this heavy trauma. Because Biera, in his infinite wisdom, decides to buy a smartphone.
The phone machine device.
Oh my God, this subplot. I lived for this subplot. It is pure comedy, but it also tells us so much about their isolation. So Biera buys this smartphone because the salesman promised him the world Spotify, Google connection, but neither of them knows how to use it.
And Máriddja naturally treats it like an enemy combatant. She calls it an infernal contraption. She hates it.
Right.
Until she discovers the voice assistant.
Siri, or as she calls her, Siri.
Right. She mishears the name and is convinced she's talking to a real person, specifically a woman named Siri. And she develops this whole relationship with her. There's this hilarious moment where she's drinking some questionable old booze she found under the floorboards.
The sulfurous booze.
Yes, because she's depressed about the cancer, and she starts drunk dialing Siri.
She treats Siri like a confidant. She tells Siri about Biera's aunt who had cancer up top in her tatties. And then Siri, being a robot, asks if she wants to search for breast implant clinics.
And Máriddja just laughs. She thinks Siri is being cheeky. She thinks she's being sassy. It's hysterical. But it's also profoundly sad.
It really is.
She has no one else to talk to. She is pouring her heart out to a piece of software because she has isolated herself from her community and her husband to hide her secret.
And this leads to the infamous text message incident, the horny old yokel incident. We have to tell this story.
We do. It's a crucial plot point wrapped in a joke. So Máriddja decides she needs to find the lost boy, the nephew, before she dies. She wants to ensure Biera isn't left alone.
Okay.
She tries to get Siri to send the boy a message, but she doesn't know his number.
Yeah.
So through a series of misunderstandings, Siri sends a message to their neighbor, Nui Nilsson.
The postman.
Yes, the postman. And instead of a heartfelt plea, Máriddja accidentally takes a selfie from a frog's eye view, says all nostrils and double chin.
Oh, no.
And the caption Siri dictates based on her mumbling is, horny old yokel.
I can't imagine being the neighbor receiving that. You're just delivering mail and you get a nostril selfie from your 85-year-old neighbor calling you a horny old yokel.
And poor Nui just deletes it. He's terrified he'll give his mother a heart attack if she sees it on his phone. But this comedy masks the desperation. She's trying to reach out across a void she doesn't know how to bridge. She is shouting into the digital abyss, hoping the boy will hear her.
That is a perfect transition to the other side of that void. Because while Máriddja is shouting into the abyss, someone else is moving into the neighborhood. Let's talk about part 2, the newcomer. Let's talk about Kaj.
Kaj is a fantastic contrast to Máriddja and Biera. If they are the roots, he's the tumbleweed. He's young, he's a doctor from the city, and he is a bundle of neuroses wrapped in a parka. He's just moved north to the town of Guavdo with his fiancée, Mimi.
He describes himself as roadkill. I think the phrase was a flattened squirrel on the highway of life. He's exhausted.
He's grieving. His mother, Laura, recently died, and we learned that his relationship with her was, well, it was complicated. She was artistic, flighty, distant. She was described as a balloon on a string.
A balloon on a string.
Yeah. He felt like he had to be the adult, even as a child. He had to take care of her emotionally. So now that she's gone, he feels untethered. He's moving north to find a new beginning, but he's bringing all that baggage with him.
And talk about culture shock. The book does a great job of showing how incompetent he feels in this new environment. It's not just that he's sad, it's that he's bad at being a northerner.
Oh, absolutely. The snow clearing scene is painful to read. He looks at his neighbor, Miklas, who has these perfectly straight, grout-like paths through the snow, surgical precision.
Right.
And then Kaj looks at his own path, and it's this meandering, pathetic trail. He feels judged by the landscape itself.
And then there's the birdseed incident. This scene made me cringe laugh so hard. He's trying to be one with nature, right? He goes out to feed the birds. A simple task.
It should be. But he can't open the bag of seeds. He's freezing. His long johns are sliding down inside his pants, so he's waddling, and he's attacking this bag of seeds with his house keys like a maniac because he can't get the plastic to tear.
And he's raging. He's screaming internally, do you need a freaking engineering degree to open this? And then he turns around, and there's Mimi and a little boy.
Johannes, the neighbor's grandson, a local kid.
And the kid just stares at him, walks over, pulls a designated string on the bag, and the bag opens perfectly.
It's total humiliation, but it serves a purpose in the narrative. It establishes Kaj as the outsider. He doesn't know the codes here. He doesn't know how the world works.
Right. And Mimi, his fiancée, she fits in instantly.
Instantly. She's eating gravlax. She's making friends with patients. She's thriving. Kaj resists. He fights the north.
But, and here's the twist, Kaj has brought something with him that belongs to this place. He just doesn't know it yet.
The box.
The mystery box. While unpacking amidst all his misery, he finds this box of handicrafts his mother, Laura, collected.
Knives, cups, beautiful traditional objects, semi-crafts.
He assumes they're just art, right? He just thinks she liked how they looked.
Exactly. Laura was an aesthete. She loved beautiful things. He thinks she just bought them because they look nice on a shelf. But these aren't just random souvenirs. They are breadcrumbs.
And this leads us to the heart of the mystery. Part 3. The missing link. We have to talk about the boy.
This is where the story gets heavy. We need to really understand who Heike is.
So, we know Máriddja and Biera are childless, but they weren't always alone. Biera had a sister, Rissen.
Rissen was much younger, and she was troubled. The text implies she struggled with addiction and mental instability. She had a son, Heike, but she couldn't raise him. It wasn't safe.
So she left him with Biera and Máriddja.
She did, and they raised him as their own. They didn't view it as babysitting. They viewed it as parenting. This was their son in their hearts.
There's this beautiful detail about Biera and the boy, the joik.
Yes. I want to pause on the joik because it's often misunderstood by outsiders as just a folk song or a chant.
Yeah, like a campfire song.
It's so much more than that. In Sámi culture, you don't joik about someone. You joik the person. The melody, the rhythm, the guttural sounds. It captures their essence. It is a sonic portrait.
A sonic portrait, I like that.
If I joiked you, I wouldn't be singing lyrics about your job. I would be vocalizing your energy, your personality, your soul, basically.
So if I heard Biera's joik for Heike, I would know who the boy was.
You would feel him. Biera composed this joik to soothe the boy when he cried as a baby. It became their invisible umbilical cord. It binds their souls together.
Which makes what happens next even more devastating.
Rissen comes back. Or rather, the authorities get involved. Because Biera and Máriddja were not the biological parents, and perhaps because of prejudice against their traditional lifestyle living in the old house, the isolation, they had no legal standing. The boy was removed.
It's the nightmare scenario.
Máriddja describes it as a death blow. They didn't just lose a nephew, they lost their child. And because of the legal and bureaucratic systems, they couldn't fight it. Rissen took him, but she couldn't keep him either. He disappeared into the foster system or was adopted away.
And they never saw him again?
Never. And that silence, the house going quiet, the toys gathering dust, is what has defined their lives for decades, until the diagnosis. Now, Máriddja's on a deadline. She thinks, I cannot leave Biera alone in this silence.
Right. So she has to find him.
She has to. She finds a name in the newspaper. Máriddja. It's a rare name. She sees it in an announcement and thinks, this is him. He's out there.
And this triggers her chaotic quest. She gets drunk on that sulfurous booze we mentioned and she calls 911, but not to report a fire.
No. She tries to trick the police into finding him. She tells the operator she's a victim of a crime just to keep them on the line, hoping she can manipulate them into looking up the boy's address.
Does it work?
No. She's so confused and drunk she can't keep her story straight. It's a mess. But it shows her desperation. She is willing to commit a crime, to waste emergency resources, just for a chance to find him.
She is willing to burn down her own life to find him, literally. Which brings us to part 4, connecting the threads. The barn fire.
This is a pivotal scene. Máriddja deliberately sets fire to their old barn.
Why? I mean, I know she wants attention, but arson? That seems extreme even for her.
It's magical thinking again. She believes that if she creates a big enough emergency, it might bring the boy back. Maybe she thinks he's a firefighter now. Or a policeman.
Or that he'll see it on the news.
Or just that the news of the tragedy at the farm will travel so far that he will hear it and come running. She's hoping the chaos will summon him like a beacon.
The fire department comes, obviously. But the boy doesn't.
No. It fails. And it just leaves her smelling of smoke and disappointment. It's a tragic low point. But here's the irony. While she's acting out this desperate drama in the north, the connection she is looking for is actually happening right under her nose through Mimi and Kaj.
Right. Mimi goes to a local souvenir shop in Glovdo. It's run by a character named Tor.
Tor's great. He's this little man in high-waisted jeans who remembers every sale he's ever made. Mimi brings in the knives Kaj inherited from his mother to ask about them. She wants to know if they are valuable.
And Tor's reaction is everything. He doesn't even look at the knives at first. He looks at her.
He looks at Mimi and asks, "You're not Laura."
So he knew her mother.
He reveals that Laura Kaj's distant, artistic mother from the city was his most loyal customer. She bought everything a specific craftsman made. Every knife, every cup, every carving. She had them shipped to her in the city.
And the craftsman. Tell us who the craftsman is.
The craftsman is Heike Jonah, the boy.
Boom. There it is. This is the bombshell. Kaj's mother, who seemingly had no connection to the North, who Kaj thought was just a flighty city artist, was secretly collecting the art of the boy that Máriddja and Biera lost.
It changes everything. It reframes his entire childhood, his mother's entire life.
This raises so many questions. Why? Did she know him? Was it guilt? Was she involved somehow in his removal?
The source text leaves some ambiguity here, but the implication is a deep, secret connection. We know Laura felt lost and had secrets. Was she a foster mother at some point? Did she know Risson?
Or was it something else?
Or maybe she just found his art by accident and felt a kinship with his displacement, sensing that he too was a changeling in his own way. But regardless of the how, the result is that Kaj is holding the physical proof of the boy's existence.
So you have these two households. One is empty, missing the boy. The other is full of the boy's creations, but doesn't know what they mean.
It's a tragic symmetry. The puzzle pieces are in two different boxes.
I want to zoom out a bit now. We've got the plot, the fire, the cancer, the knives. But the themes here are so rich. Part 5, deep dive analysis. Let's talk about the changeling metaphor because it applies to almost everyone.
It does. This concept is crucial for understanding Máriddja. There's a backstory about her as a child. She was considered a changeling or a Vitter child by her community.
Because she was wild, right, unpredictable.
Yes. There's a famous story in the village where, at age 5, she steals a boat and rows out onto the lake with a goat.
With a goat.
With a goat. And when they find her, she claims the goat rowed the boat.
Which, honestly, knowing Máriddja, I believe her. If anyone can find a rowing goat, it's her.
Right. But the community was terrified. They thought she was a spirit child, a changeling left by the underground people. This establishes her as someone who exists between worlds. She doesn't follow the rules of reality.
That makes so much sense.
That's why she can talk to Siri as if she's a person. That's why she thinks burning a barn will summon a lost relative. She operates on dream logic.
But underneath that dream logic is real historical trauma. We touched on the relocations, but the removal of the boy, that's another layer of history.
You can't separate the personal tragedy from the political one. The removal of Heike Jonah mirrors the stolen generations.
Explain that for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term.
It refers to government policies, and this happened in Sweden, Australia, Canada, the U.S., where indigenous children were removed from their families by the state, ostensibly for their own good or to civilize them.
Right.
They were placed in boarding schools or white foster families. It destroyed cultures. It broke bloodlines. The silence in Biera and Máriddja's house isn't just personal grief. It's the echo of a systemic trauma that affected thousands of Sámi families.
That puts Biera's missing knife in a whole new perspective. It's not just a tool, it's a link to the culture that the state tried to erase.
Exactly. When the knife is gone, he feels cut off from his history. He feels like the eraser's winning. It's a profound symbolic loss.
But there is hope. There are signs that the erasure isn't complete. There's the belt.
A child's belt, yes.
Yeah.
It's hanging on the antlers in their hallway. Biera made that belt for the boy. It's too small for an adult, but it's still there, waiting.
So it's a promise.
It symbolizes that the root hasn't been severed, only buried. It's waiting for the boy to grow into it or to come back to it. It's a physical placeholder for hope.
And we also have the diaries. Máriddja finally reads Risen's diaries, the boy's biological mother.
This is a moment of forgiveness. For years, Risen was the villain in Máriddja's mind, the unstable mother who took the boy away and lost him. But reading the diaries humanizes her.
She sees the other side of the story.
She sees her pain, her addiction, her struggle. She realizes Risen was a victim, too, of her circumstances, of her illness. It doesn't fix the loss, but it heals the anger. It clears the air.
So where does this leave us? We have Máriddja dying but fighting, Kaj living in a town full of secrets he doesn't understand, and the ghost of the boy haunting both of them.
It leaves us with the idea that the truth is closing in. The secret of snow is melting. The silence is breaking. All these disparate threads are pulling tighter and tighter.
I keep coming back to that line from the prologue. Our hearts have a root.
It's a beautiful image. You can cut down the tree, you can burn the barn, you can move hundreds of miles away like Biera's parents did or like Kaj did. But the root remains. Biera believes it. Máriddja is betting her life on it.
And Kaj, what about him?
Kaj's the one who has to uncover it. He's the detective in a mystery he didn't know he was solving. He holds the artifacts that can bridge the gap. He has the physical evidence of that root.
So here's the final thought for you listening today. Laura, Kaj's mother, bought the boy's art but never spoke of him. Máriddja loves the boy but cannot find him. Kaj feels lost but holds the proof of the boy's existence in his hands.
It raises the question, is it ever too late to fix a family tree that has been pruned by silence? Can objects, a knife, a cup, a belt speak loud enough to break decades of quiet?
I think Biera would say yes. I think Máriddja would shout yes and then probably insult your eyebrows.
She definitely would. She would find something wrong with them for sure.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the snow. Go call your family, tell them a story, and maybe, just maybe, check who you're texting before you hit send.
Sound advice.
See you next time.